All right, what is up? What is up? What is up? After, I don't know, 30 minutes of technical difficulties, I think we're finally getting to actually get to the podcast part of it. So, welcome to episode 3 of the Broco podcast. I'm here with one of my co-hosts, John Lester. Say hi to the masses, John.
What's up, guys? How is it going
Is it-
today?
Yeah. And then our very special guest, who I'm super excited about, is Tywin Kalandyk, who can say hi as well.
What's up, folks? How you guys doing? Good to be on. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I figured this was a perfect topic for you, dude. We might be having another co-host jump on as well in a little bit. And then we are missing Michael this week because he signed up for a 1-day class and it turns out it was a 5-day class. Surprise, surprise.
Best decision he ever made. Best decision he ever made.
Yeah, scheduling can be hard sometimes. But here we are. Here we are with episode 3. So the main topic today is just self-discipline as a cornerstone of leadership. So before we dive into that, Tywin, I mean, hopefully you can already see why I wanted you to join us for this one because you are the most dedicated, consistent, self-disciplined person I know. But before we get into all that, man, feel free to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do, bro.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. It's always a great pleasure. And first and foremost, I want to give thanks to God just for waking me up this morning and allowing me to just be the man that I am. All the glory and grace goes to Him. So really, guys, I'm just an everyday guy. I'll tell you what, that's really just worked hard on himself. Just kind of learned at an early age, if you work hard enough, you can eventually get whatever you want. If you help enough people, you can eventually get whatever you want. And pretty much I'm at a stage in my life where a lot of men have poured into me. A lot of people have poured into me. And I just feel like it's my duty to kind of give back. So I really, truly enjoy helping men elevate in all aspects of their life, whether it's their fitnesses, their finances, relationships, whatever it is. But primarily, I work with men getting in the best shape of their life. I think that's kind of a quick high level view of what I do.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. How long you been doing that again?
15 years. So 15 years professionally.
Man,
That's awesome.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
experience, my man.
Long time. Long time.
Start. It is.
You know what? It's funny because I'll get in and like there'll be other guys in the industry. They're like 2 years in and they're like, "Man, I've been doing this for so long." And I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" Okay,
You're still a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, 2 years can be a long time to some people. I mean, sometimes they can be really long years, and you look back and you're like, I don't even know how I freaking made it through that year. Maybe that's how it goes.
It's very true.
So, man, so I knew, I'm gonna just jump right into it with this. I knew that you got up early, right? Because if you want to be successful pretty much in anything, like you got to get up early. That's just seems to be the foundation, the groundwork for all of it. I didn't know you got up at like 3 in the morning though. I thought it was like 4:35, which is crazy.
Yeah.
What I'm curious.
Yeah, it wasn't
Have you
always
all,
3 a.m.
since
I
I've known you,
started because I
have you
wasn't a
always gotten
morning
up that
person
early and I've
always,
just kind of missed the boat?
but
Or
I have been
what
for a
started the
while.
three
And
o'clock in the
originally, I think
morning
I started getting up at like 5,
motivation, I
and
guess?
then it got 4, and then 4:30. It really became 3 when after I got saved. It was really important for me to get in the Word and get in it every single day and just kind of take my time. I didn't want to rush through it. And then I just found that that was the best way to start my day. So in order to get in the Word and pray and do everything that I needed to do, I had to bump my time back. So that time ended up being 3 a.m. So 3 a.m. we rock and roll with.
Dude, I love it. I
That's
love it, man.
phenomenal.
That
That's
makes sense.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now the question becomes: is what time do you go to bed? If you're getting up at 3, what time are you going to bed?
Well, here in an ideal perfect situation, it would be 8, but on average, it's probably like 11.
Depends on what time Legend lets you get to bed.
Yeah. No, we're really good. We got him locked in. Like kids are in
Oh, is
bed.
he?
It's 7 now, so they're in bed. But it's
Nice.
just spending time with the wife, or sometimes it's just doing work, or just up studying, researching, learning, reading. And
For
then,
sure.
yeah, so I'd probably say on average about 11. But if all the stars align up, it's 8.
Nice, nice. That's still a solid 6 hours of sleep. You can do a lot with 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
So there's
yeah.
that. I'm currently running on 0 after last night, so you're well ahead of me already. I was got off shift this morning, and I was like, well, that night was absolutely horrible, and I got a full day ahead.
Yeah.
But shoot, man, that's awesome, dude. It actually inspires me. You inspired me a lot with a lot of things, and the getting up early is one of them, especially making that spiritual life like a non-negotiable, right? The more I learn about leading
Hmm.
and leading others and I'm being led by them, it's like, listen, you have to have non-negotiables and you have to get it in your head that come hell or high water, it's happening. And then you have to change what you need to in your life and your lifestyle to make sure that happens. And it sounds
100%.
like you
Hmm.
you are you've done that, and it's definitely to your benefit, and for from the outside in watching you do it is definitely inspired and challenged me also. So thank you for being true, a man of your word, and thank you for taking your relationship with God as like the cornerstone and taking that the most seriously. I think a lot of
Yeah,
guys
man.
miss that for sure. Even guys in the church miss that. you
Hmm.
know their personal relationship with God should be the most important, should come first above all else. And it's just completely overlooked or missed, or the whole classic "I'm a guy, I'm fine, I don't need to work on it" type deal. There he is. Luther, what's up, man?
There's a guy.
What's happening? What's happening?
What's up, buddy? So we're about 7 minutes in, man. I'm just gonna catch you up real quick. For those of you listening on the podcast, my man Luther Harris has joined. He is another co-host for this podcast. I'm so grateful he could join us. I know he was coming from a different meeting, so that's why the late entry. But Luther, I want to say hi and introduce yourself real quick. Tell people who you are, what you do, real fast, and then we'll just keep jumping right into it, man.
Yeah. My name's Luther. Reside in Flowery Branch, Georgia. What do I do? That's a really good question. A lot,
You
a
do it
lot.
all, man. That's
But
basically it. You can just say I do it all.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to say I do it all, but I do a lot. But really passionate about men stepping into their role and leading their families biblically. I mean, John and Ian know this about me. I haven't gotten to meet my guy up here, but I look forward to chatting with you. But yeah, really just passionate about helping men and families and young people step into the call that God's placed on their lives. I do that I work part time as a student minister. I work for a consulting company, and I have a network marketing business that I work with my wife. So, along with some other things as well. But that's a little bit about who I am, man.
That you summed it up very well, because that was a very humble way of putting it too.
Hmm.
Luther's has
Yeah.
been also a very good leader when it comes to John and I, and a very good inspiration. So I'm just very thankful to have him on here, man. So thank you for
Hmm.
hopping on, dude. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for
So,
having me, man.
for you just jumping on, Luther, we're just talking, we just kind of, yeah, dude, of course. Well, we're just talking about habits, forming habits, and how they kind of set the foundation. Tywin was kind of telling us a little bit about his habits, how, you know, in order to make sure his non-negotiables happen, he discovered that getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning was where it had to be, spiritually first, to make sure it wasn't rushed, to make sure he could focus on it and it got done without getting pushed aside. And then everything else he wants to do, I know he hits the gym every day and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we're at. And this is just a roundtable talk, man. So,
Hell, you can't
the
tell he hit the gym at all.
Yeah.
no. It's just a really, really, really small shirt. It's just but yeah. So from that, habits. How long did, and this is open to anyone, Tywin, I know you're the guest here, so we'll let you go first, but for those of us who have set habits or routines down, how long did it take you to actually stick to that routine? Because I know I still have struggles, I still have problems sticking to my routine sometimes, and it gets, there are good days and bad days for sure, no doubt. So any tips or tricks, or for someone starting out who's like, I know I need to get on a routine. I know I need to have some non-negotiables. I know that
Yeah, I
some
think
things
so.
in
He
my
was saying,
schedule probably need to change.
yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think for me, and I think I learned this through sports. I had a coach in high school. He didn't really play no games. So he told me early on, whenever you're going to do something, you do it. Period, point blank. And he taught me as a man, you have to be a man of our word, and you shouldn't lie to anybody. But the worst person you can lie to is yourself, and that really kind of stuck with me all through life. Whenever I make decisions to do anything, whether I'm in or I'm out, I'm either in or I'm out. So if I say I'm going to do something, like I'm going to do something. So it kind of starts with just being a man of your word and not lying to yourself. That's always served me very well. And then also, I think maybe this is the ego inside of me, which ego can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. So, I like to feed it whenever I can. So just the fact I know most people don't stick to what they say they're going to do, it just automatically, like in my head, I'm like, I'm better than you. And I'm super competitive too. Like I compete at everything I do. So
Right.
and I've also learned over
Yeah.
time, like just look, I'm learning. Don't judge me, pray for me. But I've just learned over time, if you can just stay consistent, you'll outperform everybody else because people will quit. So just kind of like that alone, like really helps me, just stay on track and just making that clear cut decision, like burning the boats. Whatever decision it is you make, it doesn't have to be this big, huge decision you make. But if you're a man, you're going to be a man of your word, make that decision. And it is what it is. It doesn't matter if it's snowing outside, doesn't matter. It's sunny, doesn't matter if you feel like it. Like I just take my emotions out of it and just start going through the motions at that point.
Take it away, John.
No, I can. Yeah, absolutely. Man, I'm Tywin. I love that. I love that. And as a fellow guy who gets up nice and early, um, I can relate to a lot of what you were talking right there. Just about how being a man of your word, saying you're going to do something, knowing those non-negotiables, right? Knowing those non-negotiables, the things you want to do. I remember when I started my first routine, it was a train wreck because I was putting it into the comfortable part of the day. I get out of work, I go home, I do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guess what? Life gets in the way. You got a wife, you got kids. And just for whatever reason, it's like my wife came to me and she's like, this can't continue. Like, what is your priority right now? I know you want to work out. I know you want to do these things, but what's your priority? And it really kind of hit me like a slap in the face because in my mind, I'm going, well, I'm just trying to, be the best I can be for you guys. So I'm going to take care of my body. But she's like, yeah, but you're taking yourself away from us. So like you said, it was starting to find time. And I was never a morning person. I was never a morning person at first, but I learned how to become one. I'd always been a night owl. But again, I work out in the evening. I wake up everybody in the house.
Mhm.
So it became this thing of like, all right, I'm going to have to get up early. And it started happening. And you mentioned the word consistency. I think that's a big piece of it. And also you mentioned taking emotions out. Because there's a lot of mornings I get up, Ian can attest to this, where I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like it was 11 degrees this morning in Vermont, felt like 0.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked outside and it was not a pretty picture.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm going to hate myself for the
Nope.
rest of the day. I'm going to feel behind for the rest of the day. I'm going to feel like the day's already shot if I don't get up, lace up my shoes, and get my butt out the door. So I laced my shoes up. I got myself out the door. And guess what? I felt great afterwards because I'm like, all right, my day has started and this is what I need to do because this is part of my morning routine. So I just love how I'm not the only person who feels this way. Kind of like just got to be consistent. Got to be a man of your word. You're going to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Luther, what about you?
Man, it's funny. I've never been, I say never. It's not until recently that I've learned the value of routine, right? I spent the majority of my life being good enough to wing it,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, like you cannot be good enough to wing it in your parenting. You cannot be good enough to wing it in your marriage. You can't like there's no such thing as that. You got to put in time. You got to put in work. You got to put in effort. And so discipline and diligence have become like two of my big words, right? And so I, like you guys, I have an early morning routine. I literally wake up, I go into I wake up, I have my conversation with God. I come out of the prayer closet, I open His Word, I spend time in the Word, leave that on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I go to the gym. I meet my guys at the gym and we work out an hour and a half, whatever it might be. I leave there, I come home and I work. Wednesdays, I get up 6, do the thing. And then Wednesday mornings I reserve for like we call it daddy drop off day. And so we get out the house,
Mhm.
I take the kids, they know I'm gonna take them to breakfast. We go eat breakfast, right? We've become much more habitual about the things that we're doing. I think the science says it takes 21 days to form a habit.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy part is, for those 21 days, you have to be diligent about building the habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people say they want this, but then they don't want to become the person that can handle the thing that they say they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the problem lies, right? It's like, okay, well, if I say I want to become this entrepreneur, this, that, and third, right? But I'm over here stuck in a poverty mindset, and I'm not willing to be diligent about doing the things that allows me to get out of that mindset or will help me get out of that mindset. Tywin, you said something about learning to become who you have to be. A lot of people aren't willing to learn who they need to become in order to handle the thing that they want to handle. And a couple weeks ago, the Lord was pushing on my heart about this word, the benefits of having faith and endurance, right? What's the relationship between faith and endurance? And then the reward of endurance. Like, what's the reward of endurance? Everybody would say, well, the reward of endurance is blessings. But a lot of times we view blessings as things, right? Well, the blessing is I got the house, I got the job, I got XYZ. That's not the blessing at all. The blessing is who you became in order to be able to handle the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now blessings aren't about stuff. Blessings are about who I'm becoming, right? Because if I can become the person that can handle those things, I can handle more blessings.
Thanks.
Because it's all about who I'm becoming. And so the word said in Proverbs 12:24 says, the hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. I ain't trying to be put to forced labor. The only labor I want to be forced to is the labor that I create, is the labor that I choose, or that the Lord has put in front of me. And so, it's about, like y'all said earlier, routine and being habitual and being decided in that.
Absolutely, Luther. I think that's really key. And there's a lot of good stuff going on here. So I think what a lot of viewers are going to be wondering is like, okay, we got 3 men here. We got 4 men here. One's trying to connect. We'll see if he's able to connect again or not. But we got 3 guys here that have talked about this early morning routine. They look, pretty rugged guys. They're doing the things. But I'm this guy who doesn't have it yet. I'm this guy who is struggling. I'm this guy who wants and sees what I want to become, and I'm feeling motivated about it, but I don't even know how to get started. Tywin, I'll kick it over to you. So, initially, when you got started with all these routines and these habits and this journey to self-discipline, what did you use in the beginning to motivate you? Because it's hard to get self-discipline right away, right? I think that's something that might build over time. So in the beginning, you might have to try to figure out ways to motivate yourself. What were those things that motivated you when you first got into building your habits and routines?
Sure, absolutely. And first thing I would say, the person that is listening to this and, they're hearing these people, they get up early and sounds like they got it together. And here they are just like, man, I'm just getting started. I don't know where to start. First of all, I would say that's a beautiful place. You're exactly where you need to be. And each and every one of us have been there because everybody starts there. And I think that the first thing you need to do is give yourself a little bit of grace.
Facts.
That's the very first thing I would say is give yourself some grace, because you don't need to know the whole path. That's not how this game works. Matter of fact, God didn't set it up that way, because if God set it up where we knew the whole way, we wouldn't need him. And that is not what God wants. He wants us to have that faith. He wants us to just be able to take that first step. So key to this is knowing where you want to be. Everything in between, that's none of your business. Don't worry about that. The key is, where do you want to be, right? How clear can you get on where you want to be, who you want to be, what's your vision, why do you want it? Because the clearer you get on that, then you can get emotionally attached to the outcome, and then you don't have to worry about artificial motivation or outside stimulation, because it's going to come from within. Because every single day you wake up excited. Every single day you wake up passionate, because you know who you're working towards, who you're going to become, who that's going to affect, how many lives you're going to change. So you don't need outside motivation. You don't need outside stimulation. You definitely don't need to know all the steps. All you need to do is know, what can I do now? What's one thing that I can do now that can move me in the direction of where I want to be? And just the mere fact that you're focused so clearly on where you want to go. Now you become tunnel vision and human biology takes over. And what I mean by that is what you focus on is going to become truth, right? We see the world through the lenses of how we view, of our belief system. So as you get clear on what you want, your end goal, now all of a sudden the things that aren't going to move you in that direction won't serve you. You no longer pay those attention, and your brain will automatically filter those things out, and it will start focusing on the things that you do want automatically. You don't even, it's not even a conscious thing, like subconscious will take over. And now all of a sudden, the people, the places, the things that you need to get you to your next level, it'll seem like they magically appeared, but they've always been there. You were just drifting and you weren't focused. So out of all that mumble jumble I just say, here's what I would say. Get clear on exactly who you want to be, why you want to be, what that looks like in your life, and that alone, game changer. Absolute game changer.
Dang.
Awesome.
That's good.
Man, I love that vision. That come back to that vision, right? You got to have that clear, detailed vision of who you want to become. Luther, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
You gotta love the process and not worry about the product. I think too many people get their minds wrapped up in the product, right? The end result. And they don't, because they don't love the process, they get frustrated and they never make it to the product, right? So if I go into, like Tywin said, he said, you got to understand it's one thing at a time, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go from, couch potato to ripped in a day, in a month, in a week. Like that's not going to happen, right? Like it might not even happen in a year. But if I'm in love with the process, here's what I recognize. The process never stops. I'm always growing. I'm always developing. I'm always learning. I'm always changing. And if I can become in love with the process, I recognize that the different products that I will become will be in alignment with the person that I'm called to be, right? But people get fixated on, oh, I want to be this. And then when they don't make it to that in a month, what do they want to do? They want to quit. Well, I tried that. I tried the gym. Right? Like we've all seen those guys. I tried the gym, man. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's I tried to become a better worker. I tried it with that job. I tried it with that boss. So I tried, but bro, like, is it about them or is it about you? And that's one of the things that I like now when I coach people, I try to get to understand, like, it's nobody else's responsibility to dictate your perspective. It's yours. It's your Stephen Covey says in 7 Habits, he said responsibility is your responsibility. It's about how you respond in different situations. And when you become in love with the process of growth, you recognize that every step you take is a step towards the next product. And you get real clear about your why you want to become that next product. And you keep that, like you said, you get tunnel vision on that why, right? Like for me, one of my biggest whys is I want to make sure that my kids move into life with a different perspective than I grew up with. Right? My parents did a really, really, really good job of helping me get out of the city. Right? Really good job of helping me get out of the city and overcome some of the thought processes that happen down there with a lot of fixed mindset people. And now, what I want my kids to understand is the world is your, like, oyster. It's your canvas. And if they are going to have the belief to do all of the things that they are capable of doing, that has to start with me. I'm generation 1. And the belief I poured in them and me loving the process and teaching them to love the process and me helping them to not be product focused but more process focused. All that stuff starts now. And so that's my advice. Become in love with the process and the product will take care of itself.
I love that. Love the process. Love the process. Not many people do. Not many people do love the process because the process is messy, right? It's not just a straight line that you follow that as long as you're sticking to it, it goes that way. It's like life has a knack of getting in the way. Life has a way of becoming difficult from time to time. Life's like throwing challenges, like throwing curveballs. It might be a sickness, it might be a tragedy, it might be an injury, whatever it is. That's just how life works, right? It is. No matter how disciplined and everything that we are or motivated, life can have hurdles, life can have challenges.
Connectivity
So
issues.
I guess my next thought that I was thinking about this was like, okay, so like, what do we do? How do we handle those challenges? How do we handle those hurdles? How do we handle those setbacks? I was thinking about a time when I was starting to get pretty disciplined in my running and running on a trail, and I step into small depression, and I hear the sound of a twig break, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Then I quickly realized that wasn't a twig. That was not a twig. That was my fifth metatarsal. I'm about a half mile from school on my lunch break with no phone. I got to hobble my butt back, So I hobbled my butt back, had to call my 7-month pregnant wife to say, hey, I know you're 7 months pregnant, but you got to come take me to the ER. Go to the ER. Sure enough, it's broken. I had to have surgery on my foot. It was great. What a setback, right? And for a lot of people, that might have been the end of that journey, right? But the more you guys talk about the process and loving it and having that vision, it's like I knew that even though that was a setback, I wasn't going to let that determine my fate as a runner or as an exerciser or any of these things. So the whole time I was rehabbing, I was thinking, I can't wait to get on that trail again. I can't wait to do this again. And a couple months later, I started to get back out. And it's like, all right, but that doesn't come easy and it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. So I kind of want to throw this out there to you guys. Like, how do you handle setbacks? How do you handle challenges or those hurdles? Like, what do you do mentally to work through those?
I'll take this one. I don't know if y'all ever heard this quote, but the first time I heard it, like, it blew my mind. It said, every setback is a setup for a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I don't even view them as setbacks. I view them as trials. I view them as opportunities to grow. Failures are first attempts in learning, right? That's what FAIL stands for, first attempt in learning. And so every failure, it's not a setback, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity to develop, it's an opportunity to rejoice, it's an opportunity to praise, it's an opportunity to learn and to become, right? Every setback is an opportunity for you to really show what you're made of. And so if we view them as tragedies, I think that puts us in a negative headspace. I heard this video today. As a matter of fact, it popped back up because y'all heard you say tragedy earlier, John. He said in the Hebrew language, there's no word to translate to tragedy because in the Hebrew culture, they believe that the situation wasn't done until God redeemed it, right? So for them, there's no such thing as a tragedy. It's just an opportunity for redemption.
Love that.
And so like it's really dope when we understand it's like, yo, so this thing that happened to me that seems bad right now, like I don't understand what's on the other side of it. But when I take the mindset of I don't know what's on the other side of it, I just know that I'm committed to making it to the other side and trusting the process. Nothing will rock you. Nothing can shake you.
I love that.
Thanks.
Love that. Tywin, what do you think?
I think for me, first of all, that was Luther. I agree with everything you said, and you made a lot of really, really good points. And just to kind of add to that, and this kind of came to me this morning in my prayer because I probably would have answered this question a little bit different. But this morning, just in prayer, it's interesting we're talking about this because I was thinking about this, or it really kind of came to me that really nothing is really good or bad. Nothing has any meaning until we give it meaning. And for me being a believer, everything is ordained by God. So for me being a believer, if I'm saying, well, this shouldn't have happened, or this is a setback, or whatever, that's basically me calling God a liar because as a Christian, as a saved man, it tells me everything is happening for my good.
Right.
His ways are not our ways. So he sees things that we don't see. Maybe it's not going the way that I wanted it to go, but I'm not God. So why should I think it should have even went that way? So I don't even think of it as a bad thing. Now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, where's the lesson? Where's the growth moment? Because if I'm looking at this as a bad thing, as a negative thing, as a setback, that means I need to grow as a man.
Facts.
So now I'm like,
Mhm.
where's the lesson? What do I need to do to grow, to learn? So I no longer think this is a setback, so we can get to the come up, right? Like Luther was talking about, because
Mhm.
my really the only thing that's wrong is my thinking is wrong.
Facts.
That's like a
Mhm.
for a glitch. I kind of lost my faith, and that's a slap in the face to God. So for
Mhm.
me, I don't really believe in something happened and that's bad or negative or what. It is what it is. And if I'm going to give it meaning, I'm not going to give it that meaning because that's heading me in the wrong direction. So I don't really believe in that. I just believe it's an opportunity to again take another step forward into the
Mhm.
man that you're claiming that you want to be. And if you really want to be that man, you'll step up and do what needs to be done.
Dude, I want to
Mhm.
index on something you just said, bro. It was so good, Tywin. Like, dude, the nothing you said, nothing has meaning until we give it meaning, right? And nothing is
Mhm.
good or bad. Like right now, we're reading the Bible. We're reading through the Bible this year, and I'm in the book of Job.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm in the
yeah.
book of Job, right? And you got to think like Job lost everything. He lost his house. He lost his livestock. He lost his kids. Like his wife turned on him. Like we're in the middle of the dialogue between him and his friends. And Job, in the midst of all of this, he says, it don't matter what happened. I know that my Redeemer lives, right?
Mhm.
And so whether we like you said, whether we understand it or not, right? We have to understand that God is sovereign. And,
Mhm.
it, back to the beginning of that story, it was the first time I've really like read through it, like with this in mind. But if you go back to the beginning of the story, it says that God and Satan are having these conversations, right? And God, Satan shows up amongst the other angels that they having a conversation with, and God looks at Satan like, "What are you doing?" He was like, I was just down on the earth, doing my thing, like walking around." And God brings up Job. Satan doesn't bring up Job. God brings up Job. He says, "What about my servant Job? Have you considered my servant Job?" And it's like when we recognize that sometimes, not that, because God didn't cause him to suffer, right? He allowed it, but he didn't cause him to suffer. But he allowed it because he knew that his glory on the back end would be. So he trusted Job with the suffering so that he could get the glory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we have to recognize, like you said, like nothing is good or bad until we give meaning to it. And so if I go into these situations and I ascribe bad to the situation, what I'm saying to God is like, hey, I didn't deserve this. But the only thing
Mhm.
I deserve is wrath. So like if the bad thing that I'm ascribing to as bad isn't his wrath, I'm still blessed. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like
that's
I'm still good. So it's not bad because what I deserve, like the word deserve
Mhm.
doesn't exist, right? Because it's not
Mhm.
about what I deserve. It's about what I've been entrusted with and stewarding what I've been entrusted with. So, bro, Tywin, fire, bro, fire.
I know. Love it. Love it. Love it. I love how you answered that one. The whole time you were talking, I was thinking a little bit about a track meet, 100-meter hurdles, right? 100-meter hurdles. You start out on this race. You're journeying to become the best person that you can be. You have that vision in mind. You see that end line, that finish line, 100 meters down. Get to the first hurdle. You get over it. Cool. You're motivated even more. You're building it up. You're like, I can do this. You're getting intrinsically motivated, like you thought about. You're like within inside of you, you're like, I can do this because I passed that first hurdle. Get to the second one, same thing. It's like, sweet, I'm gonna rock this thing. I'm doing it. Hit the third one. You hit the hurdle, you fall down. It's right there that you have that decision to make. Are you going to stay down? Are you going to stay down? Are you going to let this little hurdle, this thing, determine your outcome? Or are you going to get back up and you're going to finish the race? All right. Everybody's going to hit a hurdle every now and again, but it's what you do with that that really determines your character, your integrity, your who you're going to become, essentially. So I was just visualizing this race and going, okay, I'm thinking about the hurdles I've hit and what have I done? And I'm just, guess what? There's some times where I stayed down. I exited the race. Out I went. And sometimes those things teach us the biggest lessons. Those are the things that then build that even more intrinsic drive. So as we move into a little bit of about just dedication, talk to me a little bit about how you stay dedicated to just being the leader that you are, being a leader as a husband, as a father, as in your professions. Talk to me about that a little bit. Anybody.
I think for me, this is definitely changed because again, I'm pretty recently saved. It's not like I haven't been saved my whole life. I didn't grow up in a church. That was definitely not my story. But since I've gotten saved, my answer is definitely different. So I would answer that like this in terms of like how do I stay dedicated in that. So to me, it's my responsibility. Like I have a responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
God. That's who I serve. And I literally look at that kind of like the military, right? So you have your ranking in the military and you just have to take orders. Well, orders have came down like this book right here, the orders are in here and it's very clear like what my job is and what I need to do. So in terms of like staying on track and staying on mission, there's no choice in that. Like there's like zero choice in that. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
marriage. Like there's no choice. There's no outs. It is what it is. Like this has to work. And it's not even just because me and my wife, like I have orders. Like this
Yep.
has to work. There's no getting out of this. So that's kind of how I look at it. Like there is no other option. And when you cut off all options, like again, like I said earlier, when you burn the boats, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing else but to complete the task, to complete the mission, right? And you just keep going and going and going. And the only way you stop is if you no longer have a heartbeat. And I know maybe for some people, it's like, man, that's a little extreme. Well, that's just how I view things. Like, if I'm going to do something and I say I'm going to do it, as long as my heart is still beating, I'm going to do it. Now, I'm going to lose. I'm going to get beat a lot. I'm going to get knocked down. I'm going to get ravaged, all of this stuff. But I'm going to keep coming back. And I'm going to keep coming back. So that's just kind of my mindset. That's kind of how I look at it. And again, I'm just highly, highly competitive. And I think every man should be highly,
Mm-hmm.
highly competitive. And I think deep down, every man is highly, highly competitive. Maybe that's gotten suppressed, whether society have duped you to think you need to be whatever, or like, no, like men were meant to compete. Like, because again, iron sharpens iron, right? But sharp iron. It doesn't say spoons sharpen spoons. You can't be a softie. Like that does no one any good, right? Everybody doesn't get a trophy. That's not real
That's
life.
right.
Like that's a
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
story someone made up. I don't know who made that up, but everybody doesn't get a trophy. So it's like just developing that mindset. It's like it is what it is. We're just gonna do it. Like leave the emotions to somebody else. But we're not doing that now. So that's kind of my mindset. That's a long-winded answer, but kind of how I think.
Man,
Ian Luther, what do you guys think?
my brain went straight. Tywin talking about getting beat down, getting ravaged. You talk about dedication. I think, especially now, Tywin, I don't know how long you've been saved, but you said it's recently.
3 years.
Um, huh?
3 years.
That's the God bless, brother. Like that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing because the humility that it took you as a grown man, right, to recognize your need for our Lord and Savior is that's really big. It's one of my favorite things to see in life. But anyway, I digress. You talk about being dedicated. If we're called to, I'm just saying everything Tyler just said, but if we're called to reflect the nature of Christ, Tyler, you talked about being beat down, being ravaged, taking what looks like L's, but I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. Christ showed the ultimate level of dedication. He got beaten. He got mocked. He got spit on. His body was ravished until he was unrecognizable. And still, he carried the cross up the hill. And still, he allowed himself to be nailed to it. And still, he yielded up his spirit. And still, he came back forever and ever and ever. Right? And so when I think about the fact that we've been blessed with his nature, we've been blessed to be made in his image, that is who we are called to be as men. Like you said, you're going to take L's. You're going to take beatings. You're going to take bruisings, right? But you are called to get up, and you are called to keep fighting. And you are called, right? Like you are called to stay dedicated, because it's big. It's bigger than you, right? And that's what we, especially as husbands, as fathers, it's bigger than you, right? And like you said, I have a responsibility to my family, yes. To my wife, yes. To my kids, yes. But ultimately, I have a responsibility to God, because he didn't quit on me.
Right.
He didn't quit on me. And at the age of 13, right, like, he sought me out. Not only does he not quit on us, he seeks us out, bro.
Yep.
Right? The word tells us that no man comes unless he draws you into himself.
Yep.
And so he stayed dedicated to take a beating he didn't deserve, to take a crucifixion he didn't deserve, and then he came back, and then he sought after me. That's humbling. That's humbling. And because he sought after me and he stayed dedicated on my behalf, it is my duty to stay dedicated. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's not an option. That's it.
What's cool?
And he could have, you know what? This thing, just kind of hearing you say that and just thinking about it, he could have ended it at any time.
At any point,
he had
bro.
The power to end it at any time.
At any point.
He stayed yielded to God.
Yeah.
Bro, and that's the thing. Like you said,
if he did that,
yes.
What do I look like? Like it is what it is. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, like the Bible, and again, even if you're not a believer and you're listening to this, that doesn't even matter. That's irrelevant right now. You just catch the stories, just catch the lessons, just catch what we're saying. But it's like the Bible, like Jesus to me is like the greatest example that we'll ever have of any man that walked on this earth. It just is. Perfect. And what blew me away, because again, and this is kind of a shot at some of the Christians, because prior to like growing up, like I would hear people and they almost describe Jesus as this like soft, docile character, and
facts.
That's not at all who he was. No. And I would run into Christians that they were scared to like stand on their faith. They were scared to talk about the Bible. They were scared to talk about Jesus. And as I started developing a relationship and reading this book, I'm like, yo, this dude is gangster. Like, instance like this. So it was like, once I started learning about God's character and who he was and Jesus as like all this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I can get behind something like this, right? So it was like, yeah, no, I was following you, Luke. That was
dude.
The problem with it. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Ian.
Since I got like 3 seconds of connection here, I've had so much I want to say, but y'all been killing it, and with the connection, I'll just let y'all rock with it. Y'all are on fire. That what you said, that he stayed dedicated to the cause, Luther. He stayed dedicated, and it was motivated by love for us. He hit both of those. Motivation comes and goes, right? I don't think he ever stopped loving us, but he sure was tempted to kind of like, that's why he had that prayer. God, if anything, take this cup from me, but your will be done, because in the end, I love you most, and you sent me to love these humans, and this is how I show them love. I will stay dedicated to the cause because I'm motivated by love, if that makes sense. That's just something that hit my mind when you said that.
Ty, when you pointed out that he could have stopped it at any point, and that's such a good pull out. He could have stopped at any point, and he chose not to.
Yeah.
He made a decision not to. And Ian, you made a good point. He made a decision not to because of his love for us. Like people don't like people like when you think about the fact he made Adam and Eve knowing what they was gonna do.
Right.
Right? And people are like, well, why would he do that? Because he wants us to choose a relationship with him.
Right.
He wants us to choose that. He's like, I love you enough to create you. I just desire for you to love me back. And I want you to stay dedicated to that cause and live out your life in a way that honors and glorifies the one that you were created in the image of. Right? And so, like you said, like he could have stopped it at any point, but he recognized that the sacrifice was necessary. What in your life, to the people listening, what in your life is the sacrifice necessary for? What do you need to stay dedicated to? Right? For me, one, like you said, we have a responsibility to God. But my wife needs me.
Right.
My kids need me. Right? And because they need me and I love them, I can never stop.
Right.
Never. So.
Dang. That's freaking good.
I love that.
That's good. I honestly feel like we could probably talk the rest of the afternoon. Just gonna be honest. I do want to be.
Man, y'all, Tywin's my guy, my
Bro,
new guy. So Ian and John were already in my circle. Tywin is my guy.
We
now.
need to get
So,
Tywin on board with us because he is a dude. He, for such as he said, he's only been saved 3 years, but man, he has more faith and conviction than most Christians I know. And I know you don't like being singled out and everything, Tywin, but honestly, dude, it's been refreshing and challenging and an honor, man, to watch you walk your faith for sure. And it would be an honor to just continue, the conversation with you at a later date and, even off podcasts and stuff like that, man. So.
I appreciate it, man. I really do. You know what? It's just like when I got saved, I felt like I was like, man, I am so far behind and I hate being behind. So ever since I've just been like, it's just like this rabid nature to learn. And like the more I learn, it's like the more I want to learn because it changed. It completely changed the way I looked at life. It completely changed the way I did life. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, how many more people can I help? Not because of me, but because of him.
Yeah.
It was like this. It was like this superpower that I found. I was like, yo, where have you been my whole life? But he was there the whole time. It's just
where have I been your whole life? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it's just been such an amazing experience. And then it was like this clash with the world. So everything I knew was like got flipped on his head. I'm like, oh, yo, that's wrong. That's completely wrong. And again, me being like the person I was or am, I'm like, oh, y'all got marriage wrong. Yep. Y'all got this wrong. Y'all got that wrong. Like, and I'll be quick to be controversial. So I'm like, okay, let's go. This is it. I found my team. This is it.
Fact.
That's it. That's it, man.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's so good, dude. Well, Tywin, if you're down for it, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I was just kind of do that.
It's always. No, I was just saying it's always good to just get on with just a good group of guys that just want more out of life, that are growing, that are inspiring to be more and do more and help more people. It's like I'm like, let's go. Like that's my thing. That's my jam.
Yeah.
It's this. I like being around.
Been very blessed for sure to fall in line with these guys, man. It is a God thing for sure. Yeah, no doubt. So I would love to have you on again, man, in the future if you're down for it. This has been incredible, bro. This conversation, this back and forth has been, God put this together for a reason, for sure. and Luther joining us, man. I've been waiting for you. I've been hoping you were gonna jump on, dude. So thank you
Sorry it
for
took me
adding
so
it.
long, man.
It's good, man. It's good. Life happens. We understand. So Tywin, man, before we sign off officially, this is your chance to plug yourself, man. Shameless plug for people to find you and follow you if they resonate with what you say,
You
as my
lost me
daughter
again.
screams her head off in the background.
I think he's asking you to close it out, Tyler.
I would say this, just kind of my last words for you guys. First of all, man, I really do appreciate you guys having me on. It's always good, like I said, being around, like-minded individuals that are growing and things like that. I also give you guys, a lot of props. A lot of people start podcasts. Well, a lot of people want to start podcasts and then they don't. For whatever reason, I don't have the right camera, I don't have the right mic, and they make all these excuses. So I think this is actually really cool because it's genuine and it's authentic and it's raw. And now more than ever, this is what people need to see. Like the over polished and all that stuff. I'm telling you, it's just overrated. So just the fact that you guys get on here, show up authentically as yourself, like to me, it's dope. It's because it's real, and this is real life. We have kids, we have work, meetings come up, but you know what? We show up, go through it, no matter what. Like the lesson in that alone is just like, okay, let's go. Like that alone, like there's gonna be viewers that listening to this and are like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've all been like that in all aspects of our life. You have to start somewhere, and most people don't start.
Yeah.
They don't even take the first
Too scary to start.
So, like, I give you guys so much respect. Like, Luther could have just been like, well, I can't get on time, so I'm not going to jump on. But he jumped on. Ian could have been like, my internet sucks. Like, y'all just go handle that. My kid's out of control. No. The show goes on. Right?
And John just had people
John just had rude people. Students had to come in and interrupt. How selfish.
Yeah, man. So I really do. I give you guys mad respect and I'm excited for you guys and what this podcast brings and just I would just say keep plugging and who knows what'll come out of it.
Man, I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. Luther, you got anything for the people before we sign off here?
Again, I'm just gonna keep and what Tywin says because he keeps saying really good stuff. Be willing to start. Be willing to start. You'll never know what you're capable of if you don't start. And a lot of people run from starting because it's uncertain. But don't live your life with the idol of certainty.
Yeah.
Uncertainty requires faith.
That's it.
And so, take the next step.
Take that step. Can't let fear run your life. You got a lot to live for, a lot out there, a lot of people counting on you, even yourself. So we're going to cut it there for this one. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Tywin, Luther, John, I'll tell him later, I guess. But guys, thank you so much for listening. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, subscribe, follow, like. If there's any questions you have, we are always open to questions, constructive criticism, all that stuff. Thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Bro Code Podcast.